Good to see everyone today. It's so good to be back. I was honestly a little bit surprised when Rodney messaged me and called me a few months ago and asked me about coming out. I'm like, man, I was like, sure? Are you sure about that? You know, so I was happy to come back and everything. Who was here DNow last year? Show of hands real quick. Awesome. Good to see y'all back. Got a lot of new faces. That's good. All right. So today we're going to grab your Bibles. Please open up to 1 Kings chapter 19. Before we start off, of course, we talked about our big theme. We have Focus, 2017, also talking about distraction. Our lessons we're going to go over has to deal with a lot of distractions. And so I want to start off today is talking about, of course, when you focus on something, when you have a lot of distractions. I think of, when I was growing up, I played a lot of golf, and there was an athlete I looked up to before, of course, he got in trouble for a lot of marriage issues and stuff later. It was Tiger Woods, okay? You guys know who Tiger is, right? Played over the weekend, did bad, and all that. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, but the thing he used to do all the time we played, he would be on the green, he'd be getting ready to putt the ball, and then he would just take his hands and he would just put it around his head. And we would always kind of poke fun at that, call it Tiger Vision, right? Because what he would be doing is he would take away everything outside of all the crowd, and as far as people might be talking, people might be looking at him, taking pictures, whatever, and he just tried to block everything out just to focus on that putt he had ahead of him. And so today we're talking about, okay, when we are having this struggle to focus, and when we have all these noises and all these outside influences, we're going to see a person in the Bible named Elijah who had to go through something very similar. So before we start 1 Kings 19, we're just going to lay out the context, lay out kind of like what's going on so far in the story. Of course, we know Israel is God's chosen people, but they weren't always worshiping God, right? Those of you that have looked at this book, at this point in chapter 19, Israel has fallen away from God. They have basically been worshiping two false gods, actually, one called Baal and the other one called Asherah. Now, these are, of course, gods they had, not the real God that we know, that we talk about, that we learn about. And so they have fallen away. But, of course, there were prophets that rose up that God had used to basically glorify himself, talk to Israel about who he is, and, of course, their sin, their rebellion, how Israel has fallen away. But, of course, in chapter 18 was this big, massive showdown between Elijah and then a total of 850 prophets. So it was 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah. Now what they did is that Elijah said, okay, God had given this message to Elijah. He says, I want you to make yourself known before King Ahab, who was the king at the time. There was Ahab and his wife Jezebel, okay? Who's even heard the name Jezebel? Does that usually have some positive or negative kind of influences, right? Usually, Jezebel is one of the most evil people you will ever, read about, outside of obviously Satan himself. But Ahab and Jezebel, of course, all four of these pagan gods they were worshiping. But Elijah is told by God to make yourself known before Ahab and Jezebel, because at this point Jezebel was pretty much hunting down prophets. Ahab and Jezebel were not having these prophets of God. They were against them. They were hunting them down, killing them, and pretty much if there was anyone even left alive, they just went into hiding. Like they weren't even actively, as far as acting as prophets of God anymore. But so God tells Elijah to make himself known to them in the sense of, you got to come out in the open. Like you got to basically go up before them, who pretty much don't want you dead, right? And so as he goes up before them, and he basically challenges them, Elijah says, okay, we're gonna have two cows, basically two cattle that you are going to basically sacrifice. You're going to pick one, I'm going to take the other, and we're going to call upon our gods, and we're going to see who's the real God. This is an awesome story. And just long story short, what ends up happening is that as, of course, the 850 prophets call upon God, or their God, I'm sorry, but Ahab's God, I'm sorry, it is a Baal and Asherah. They're calling upon them, and they don't show up. They're not there. And then, of course, we have Elijah by himself, against these 850 prophets, calling upon God, and this pillar of fire comes out of the heavens and burns up the entire offering, and they pretty much get shown up, right? And then, of course, everyone sees, wow, this is the real God. This is the God who we need to serve. And so, after all this has happened, Ahab and Jezebel aren't happy. Okay, like it's pretty safe to say, you got pretty much showing up, in front of all your prophets and all these things. This one guy named Elijah just shows you up. And God, the God of Elijah showed up and not yours. And so this is where we pick up in verse 1 of chapter 19. So let's read. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, so is God's due to me and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow. Then he was afraid and rose and ran for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servants there. So right away, Jezebel says, after she's killed all these other prophets, saying, may harm come to my life if you're not dead by tomorrow. If I don't kill you by tomorrow. So may the worst happen to me. Pretty much wants him dead. Out of the picture. Verse 4. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, it is enough now, O Lord. Take me away, take my life, that I am no better than my fathers. And he lay down and slept under a broom tree. And behold, an angel touched him and said to him, arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you. And he arose and ate and drank and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the Mount of God. Okay, so who caught that? How long has he been running at this point? That very last verse. How many days? 40 days, right? Good. So this victory that Elijah seemingly had on as far as this showdown between the prophets of Baal and Asherah, and before this you feel like, okay, like we're winning, right? Doesn't really feel that way because Jezebel's after him at this point. And so this victory really kind of feels like defeat because he's having to run away. And he's the only prophet left that's standing up to the kingdom of Israel, being as far as the king Ahab and his wife. And he's running for his life, 40 days, 40 nights, over a month. And God is supplying this food for him. And he straight up says, God, let me die. Like, this is such a bad situation that I'm in, that I might as well, I'd rather just die than just keep running for my life. And this is just such a bad predicament that I am in. I just wish that you would just let me kill over. And so then this is where we get to the point to where God speaks to Elijah. This is a very crucial point as far as for the history of Israel coming up. So let's continue in verse 9 right there. There he came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said, what are you doing here, Elijah? He said, I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, go out and stand on the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains that broke in pieces and the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, what are you doing here, Elijah? So we get the same question again. So let's see what he says. And he said, I have been very jealous of the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel that have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And now even I only am left, and they seek my life and take it away. And the Lord said to him, go on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria, and Jehu the son of Nimshi you shall appoint to be king over Israel, and Elisha the son of Shaphat, Abel-Meholah you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. And the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu put to death, and the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. Okay, so this last part is just crucial instruction that is given to Elijah, basically for the future of Israel going forward. We're gonna focus on these verses, especially verses 12 through 13. So at this point, we have Elijah that's in just a very stressful place. We have a lot of things going on. You have him fearing for his life, not really sure what to do next. He's obeyed God at this point, but he still feels like he's between a rock and a hard place. But yet there's three things that I want to really point out. And number one is in verse 12. God chose to speak to Elijah not in a flashy way, but in a small voice. So let's read that verse 12 more time. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. You have all these flashy things. We had the wind that was piercing the mountains, that rocks were crumbling. You had the earthquake. You had the fire. And after all of that, you would think, okay, this crazy stuff's happening. Surely this is God at this point. But he recognized that God wasn't in these things. But then, of course, after all these things that come to pass, that he heard a low whisper. Which brings me to backtracking to verse 11, where after he went out, stood out on the mountain, and then you see all these things take place, and we talk about all these crazy things that are happening. How many times in our lives are we so focused on the things that are loud, and the things that are crazy, and the things that are just vying for our attention, that we forget about the still small voice? When the book of Psalms, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Okay? Who all has been in this point to where maybe you're at your house, you're in your home, and then your parents are asking you to do something, they try to talk to you, say, "Hey, such and such, will you go take the trash out?" And you're like, "Uh-huh," but you're kind of in the middle of doing something else. See, I still do this because I'm married, okay? So if you haven't met my wife yet, if not, you probably will. I do this a lot, okay? I'll be at home, I'll be doing something else. One, I'm not a multitasking kind of person, right? I can only do one thing at a time. And so, yeah, Ronnie knows what I'm talking about. And so she'll say, "Hey, Derek, I need you to come do the dishes." And I'll be like, like I'll hear her talking, but I'm not really listening, right? Because why? Because something else is vying for my attention. Now, is it my attention in the right place? Most likely not, right? Usually I'm playing my Xbox, or I'm watching SportsCenter, or I'm doing something like that. And she comes in and is like, "Hey, could you please come help the dishes? Like, I was on for you a while ago. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, what? Like, you asked me to do something?" But I automatically kind of responded in that way. But really, I wasn't listening. I might have heard her talking, but I wasn't listening. Who's been in that situation before? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Yeah, I know. We've all been in that moment. But what we notice about Elijah is that in all these things, trying to get his attention, whether it was the fire, whether it was the wind, whether it was the earthquake, he still had that knowledge, he still had that awareness to listen, that God wasn't in those things, but yet it was that still small voice. Which brings me to my last point here. In verse 13, when Elijah heard it, I want you guys to notice what he did. He wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" We notice that early in the story that God asked this question already. We've already gotten this answer to this question before, early in the chapter, where he says, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And then Elijah is, of course, upset. He said, "I'm jealous for you that the people of Israel have forsaken you, and I am the only one left." And then it took until he put all these distractions aside. He said he wrapped his face in a cloak. I talked about this tiger vision earlier, right? But he wrapped his face in his cloak, and he went back, and then God spoke to him there, because at that point, Elijah put all the distractions to the side, even to wrapping his cloak to where he could just focus on God and say, "Okay, God, I'm here. I'm listening. What do you have for me?" He was no longer worried about the fact that Jezebel was after him, that these earthquakes were going on, this fire was going on, this wind was blowing. He was in a moment to where he was focusing solely on God. And so I'll go back to this question about how many times do we find ourselves focusing on the wrong thing? Whether that's a sports team that we're on, whether that is friendships that we have, whether that is, whatever it may be. I remember, and it's a funny thing Ronnie's already mentioned already, is that it's always fun coming back here, because I remember I used to sit right where you guys sat. And I remember it vividly, as far as when God had called me to youth ministry. I was sitting where you are, and I remember Ronnie was speaking. He was talking about what we're doing with our lives. Are we giving our lives to the world and things that take priority there, or are we giving it to God? And at that point in my life, it's like a lot of you, it's like some of you guys grew up in church. I was here until the doors were open, but at that point in my life, or my junior year in high school, I had no care. I pretended that I love God, and yeah, I was a Christian, but I was more focused on what my friends thought of me. I was more focused on how well I was doing on the baseball team that I was on. I was more focused on these other things. And as far as I had a girlfriend at the time, had more care of what she thought of me rather than my walk with God. My walk with God was very, very, just like, it was not where it needed to be. And at that moment is when I felt like I listened for the first time in a very long time. And that, I had too many things going on in my life that I care about more than God. And to where these things became idols. I talk about this one of the 10 Commandments, there shall have no other God before me. And this God didn't necessarily have to be a false God that we talked about in 1 Kings 19 just now. What we talked about are your friendships, your sports teams, your reputation, your grades. These things can be God. Now, are they bad in and of themselves? No, absolutely not. Like friendships, like God's blessed us with all these things to enjoy. But when they become God in place of the one true God, that's when it becomes a problem. I'm so thankful that we're all here this weekend because we have an opportunity to focus on God. We have an opportunity to put all the distractions aside and ask God, where is it that I need you most? Like, if I am a believer in you already, where is it that my weakness lies in? What is it that is God over you? What is it that I need to focus on more to grow in my walk with you? Or if you guys might not know who Jesus is, you might not have that relationship with him, and hopefully my prayer this weekend is that you come to know who he is. You come to understand who Jesus is and how much he loves you. And so I challenge you guys this weekend as we spend more time together. My challenge to you is I want you guys to focus. I want you to just ask yourself the question of, where are my priorities? What are some distractions that are in my life? Or what are some ways that we can focus on God that much more? And my prayer is that by the time this weekend's over, that there's something that God's revealed in our lives to where we can put that aside. We can wrap our head in the cloak as Elijah did. We can put away those distractions. We can fully focus on him. And I ask that we truly give this weekend to him. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like it's going to be awesome. Like I said, I've been playing these DNows, Rodney always provides a lot of opportunities where we're going to have plenty of fun. But when we go to our small groups, we're in our host homes, we are in our worship time, like ask yourself, what are some distractions in my life that might be taking up too much of my time? All right? So let's pray, and then I think I'm going to hand it off to Rodney. Father, thank you so much for our time together. Thank you for your word, how you use it to speak to us. I thank you for this weekend that we can just spend time just away from all the distractions that we have and all the things and all the other things we have going on in our lives, that you would speak to us. Please reveal anything that is in our lives that's not pleasing to you, that we can fully focus on who you are. And we can give everything we have to you. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Everybody said, Amen.
I appreciate it, Derek.